Tēnā koutou katoa, everyone, and welcome back to Mucky Hope Productions. I'm your host, Mucky Hope, and I'm changing it up a little bit. You know, majority of the podcast is done from across the way, whether it's from one house to another house or from one country to another country. But I've got the bro right here. Just relaxing. What's up, everyone? It is Stags Yarrow. How's it going, Stags?
It's going good. Woke up way too early. But managed to have a nice nap before this. So, feeling nice and refreshed from the nap. That's basically it.
Nice. I'm so glad you feel nice and refreshed from the nap. And it wouldn't be an Australian Survivor podcast without the amazing Char Dude. Welcome, Char Dude, to the live. Let's go. I agree. Hamish. Australia versus the world, man. It's coming up. You know, first ever global championship of Survivor. This is something I've been talking to you about for a long, long time. And now that's finally happening. What's been your thoughts and feelings on it?
My thoughts and feelings have been that since it was announced, this has been your personality.
Yeah.
My thoughts have been that because I know that you're going to simp over Luke and David, I'm going to be Team World just to spite you. But no, I mean, it's pretty epic. It's pretty cool. I hope that this is the Survivor franchise across the world doing like a real big thing because it's growing, as opposed to it being like oh crap, like we just need to do something epic to keep the viewers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And as Gabe does bring up here, only downside 14 players. I agree, but something I've said many, many times, which I'm pretty sure I've said the same thing to you as well. If you were to get 14 players, let alone 7 players on a tribe, you've got the 7 players, right? You know, the fact that we have Luke, David, and George.
Yeah, even Sarah's come back. It's pretty man.
Sarah's come back. Shonee's come back. Janine, the godmother's back as well. And I was just showing you just some stuff on Kirby just before earlier as well. Like, this is a pretty stacked cast.
Yeah. And
there's some comments I do want to cheekily read out. Just returned from my trip around Europe. Oh my gosh.
20 minutes ago.
20 minutes ago. Like, so 21 minutes ago, you were still in Europe, but now he's in Australia, New Zealand?
Yes, 21 minutes ago.
21 minutes ago, you were just in Europe, bro. That is actually mad. But what's better than returning to Mucky's podcast? You're goddamn right there, Char, dude. This is the greatest podcast. The greatest moment in Survivor history is Mucky Hope Productions podcast. And all those players who turned it down for 50 and got cut out kicking themselves. Yeah, 100%. But I'll save that for the World Tribe breakdown, Gabe, because silly Willy Jeff Probst is all I got to say. But, you know, enough about, you know, the worst version of Survivor with Americans. Let's talk about the best version of Survivor.
New Zealand.
Survivor New Zealand. We're practical. No, but we're going to be talking about the Australian tribe. And, you know, I wanted to do something a little bit different so I introduced you to Survivor in 2021. First season we watched was both of Luke's seasons. We watched season 2
and then
jumped straight into season 4.
Yeah.
And you haven't seen all of Shonee's games. We've seen her in Heroes versus Villains along with George and stuff. You obviously know Janine and Sarah. So it's pretty much 6 out of 7 people that you already know. And I've just shown you some highlight clips about Kirby. So essentially what I wanted to do with this sort of live is sort of just break down what we think is going to happen on the tribe, basically. Like, you know, potential alliances, who's going to work with who, previous relationships that might be a massive impact, especially on the first day, because who knows when tribals are going to exactly start happening. And
yeah, it'll be interesting to see if people, because of like, you know, they've been on the same seasons before, if they would be like immediately against one another or work with one another, you know. Like, what will Shonee's, you know, opinion on George be, for example, stuff like that. Like, is it just going to be the easy, like, David and Luke get together kind of thing, or is David going to be like, no, like, I'm the best. I'm gonna throw a spanner in the works. You know,
I'm the best alpha male. I'm the alpha wolf. You know, and we do have some comments here where Kelly Wentworth was replaced by Parvati. I think that's why she was cut. And as much as I love George, I feel like he is screwed. I mean, let's start talking about that. So King George is coming back. To kind of talk about his history with you. So 2021, he was on the first Brains versus Broad. And you know George, right? Massive character, massive strategist. The next year he was on Talking Tribal, where he talked about Blood versus Water with Shannon Gus, I believe, with Haley as well. Next year he did Heroes versus Villains. Year after he was also on Talking Tribal, talking about Titans versus Rebels. His dog went on a TV show at some point. His dog.
Oh, true.
Even his dog has got a personality. Everyone in George's family's got a personality. George did the Celebrity Amazing Race with the sister in between as well.
Yeah.
And now he's doing Australia versus the World.
Yeah, I think that the king is about to get usurped.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, so there's a similar player called Russell, right? And I feel like part of Russell's big downfall in American Survivor was simply because he was just on it so many times. He was on season 19, 20, and then when he came back for 22, I forgot. George did Deal or No Deal as well. I completely forgot. And when Russell came out for 22, everyone knew his game inside and out. That's why they threw the challenge to get rid of him straight away, because he's just someone who they can't work with, right? Because they keep on seeing Russell all the time. And I'm kind of worried for George that something very similar is going to happen, because you've seen so much of it.
I wonder how much it's not even that he's been on stuff so often, but just that, the Australian Survivor seasons he was on, he was obviously a bit of a menace. And people are just like, let's not let him do that again. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, forget the other season. Forget his dog. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, just don't let him be George.
I can vote George out just because of his dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, imagine it gets to the bit where it's like phone call from home and it's just like, ruff,
ruff. His dog comes up for the family visit. Like,
no one else.
No one else. Yeah, no, I'm quite worried for George. And let's talk about his main, I guess, potential enemy coming to this season, and that is Shonee. Yeah. We talked about players who may want to take him out just because he's a menacing player. Shonee wanted to use him as a shield early on in Heroes versus Villains, and she got brutally
didn't work very well.
No, it did not work at all. And she got brutally backstabbed by George, which I do think was a correct move from George as well.
Yeah,
totally. We've all seen how Shonee is, right? Like, I know you haven't seen All Stars, but
I understand she's pretty opinionated.
Very opinionated, and she won't let things go. For example, she got voted out in All Stars. It was a non-elimination, and then there was a tribe swap. And the next 3 players to get voted out were the 3 people in charge of her elimination for the non-elimination.
I mean, that's pretty base, though, because there have been a few times that, watching Survivor, and you'd be like, oh, damn, this person's going to get revenge. They're pissed now. And then, it doesn't happen. You know what I mean? So that is pretty base that she's just, could do that.
Yeah.
So, heck yeah, Shonee.
Yeah. So do you think that Shonee is, going to gun straight for George? It's a small tribe. George is a massive target. Do you think she's going to try to work them again?
I wonder, though, because, in that instance you described, right? That was right after it. That was, the day after. This has obviously been a few years now. And so maybe she'll be like, okay, definitely am not George's fan. Probably going to vote him out. But it might not be so fresh that she needs to do it straight away. She might have a clearer head.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Definitely not going to use him as a shield, I suppose. But
no. I see Shine potentially using George as a very short-term shield.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? First vote, maybe second vote, but I can't see it lasting longer than swap.
It almost you could argue, though, that trying to use him as a shield for just a few rounds is risky as well, because that's how he makes it through. People being like, oh, I'm just going to keep him around for 1 round, and then it becomes 1 round, then it becomes 1 round, because he always finds a way, know? And so maybe the correct move is just get him out before he does this thing.
Yeah, and there's some comments I do want to quickly bring up as well. Is George is considered the best strategist in the series, so he's in trouble. Or that would be his biggest strength. But it was the same going to Heroes vs Villains, and look at what happened. Shonee might be forced because of the giant loot group. I just feel like the whole tribe has pre-game connections. I mean, I guess let's quickly maybe move away from Shonee and George for a bit, because I feel like there's a lot bigger fish to fry. So I'd like to call this group the Champions group, because it's really Luke, Janine, and David all played very closely together
Mm.
in season 4. You know, it was them and Pierre that did the massive flip at the third tribal council where they really turned the whole tide for this isn't going to be an athletes game anymore. This is going to be a strategist-based game, right? And so 3 of them are coming back. Now, Janine was a big part of taking out David, but that was still like yonks ago. Can you believe that that's 6 years ago? You get what
That
I
is
mean?
crazy how
It's
fast it's
pretty
gone.
bloody crazy.
I wonder about David, right? I feel like a part of his strategy is playing dumb, playing the like, the dumb model or whatever, just being like charming or whatever. And people are like, oh, he's nice to have around, and they don't realize he's doing stuff.
Yeah.
I think at least on the Australian tribe, everyone knows his game. Everyone knows his deal. I wonder, because they know what he's up to, is that tactic even going to be effective?
Yeah.
What if, I think it's like, I forgot the quote, but, like Napoleon said something along the lines of, don't fight the same enemy too many times, otherwise they'll learn your tricks. I wonder if that's just going to be the case with George. He tries to be charming and stuff, and they're just like, yeah, nah, bro.
Yeah. Because, with all fairness to the All-Stars cast, while I do think it was a good cast, they did, especially from merge onwards, it was such a steamroll from David to get to the end and win, right?
Yeah.
And we even saw with Deal or No Deal Island as well, that David, no one knew who he was, and he steamrolled that entire game on the biggest cash prize in reality TV history with $5.8 million American, which I believe is 9 million Australian, which is pretty bloody wild. And he can't really play the dumb card anymore, right? Because everyone knows he's this dominant sort of strategist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As far as reputation goes, I think there are a few players here that have a lot to lose.
Yeah, pretty much. Which does make me ask a question. Are we going to get a whole bunch of players that's just going to sprint for the finish line? The Train Survivor is so long, for 50 days, 24 episodes, with a whole bunch of non-elims in between. You kind of have to play a bit more of a conservative game, sit back, wait. Even as crazy as AJ was, at least he waited until the swap to start doing crazy shit. You get what I mean? And with David, while he was doing crazy stuff, he at least had numbers around him. But since it's such small numbers, why not just go full Nash? You get what I mean? Full Kent, you get what I mean? Just sprint right out of the gate.
I wonder as well, all of these people are obviously good people that weren't voted out on the first day, but somebody's going to have to be. So I wonder what that's going to feel like for them. These people who have big reputations, either won games or done very well, how they're going to feel about getting voted out first.
Yeah, exactly. And it was the David Zombies Alliance, 100%. And hey guys, I'm driving, so I won't be able to chat until I get home. All good, Stanica, all good. So hopefully you're driving safe. Hopefully you haven't had too many bevies or anything like that, because don't drink and drive, Hamish.
Don't drink and I don't drink.
Just don't drive.
Well, you don't.
I don't drive. He doesn't drink. It's a perfect combo.
Yeah.
But anyways, I guess let's talk about, all of David's one-on connection. So he's got Luke. The boys are finally back together for the first time since Champions versus Contenders 1. Are we in agreement where we think this can be a rock-solid alliance?
With David and Luke?
Yeah.
Probably, but also, I wouldn't put it past them to... I think yes.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't put it past David to, be very just oh, I'm the best. People think that, oh, I'm good because I'm with Luke.
Yeah.
No, I'm good. Oh, something silly like that. Yeah. I can see him, being a wild card. But no, I think that they'll be pretty solid.
Yeah, I do think that the only time they would actually potentially take each other out is if it's the final 4, final 3. You get what I mean? But I do think they're quite similar type players. So they'll kind of naturally work together to sort of roll the season.
I have a theory that from the get-go, they'll Luke and Sarah will want to work with one another because they know each other. They have their history. But I feel they'll also be different enough people that they kind of just rub each other the wrong way. Kind of with that the Witches Coven Alliance from the most recent season. You know how they want to work together, but it just doesn't work. Yeah. I feel they'll do that until a point that one of them gets sick of the other. Sarah's just going to be oh, stuff this guy. I can't be bothered with him, vetoing my plans. I'm going to take him out now. I think there might be something like that happen.
Yeah. And I guess let's talk about Sarah really quickly, because David and Sarah are actually really close friends. So they both did modeling together. They're the same agent.
True.
And Sarah actually recommended David apply for Survivor. I think she must have been a reference or something because he got onto Survivor because of Sarah.
True.
But then again, like as we very well know about Sarah, is that she, just because you're friends with her doesn't necessarily mean that she's going to 100% work with you, right? Like,
because I wouldn't work with you.
Yeah, I would not work with you.
I would take you out in the first game. You'd be gone.
Clearly, Gabe and Chardude and Danica are on my side. I have a whole army against you. What are you gonna do?
Like, fair call, but David, Chardude, Danica, I have a question. It would be pretty funny if we got Mucky out, right? Like, hear me out. Like the strategy, like we can get strategy on the like second day, but like after the first, like until the first tribal's done, like just as a meme, it would be pretty crack up. So I reckon we just meme up and take out Mucky, and then after that, then okay, if we want to work with each other, we can. But let's just get Mucky out. That would be crack up. Can we agree with that?
What is this? Some kind of meme squad, meme Vengers?
Member. Fantastic
member.
Fantastic meme.
Anyways, thank goodness, Danica. No worries, I don't drink. Also, dropping my daughter at D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. Oh my gosh, now I'm back home, but I need to get on the computer. All good, Danica. Can't wait to hear your thoughts on this tribe as well. And when do we think mergers and when will Drew start? It's really hard, but I kind of feel like, there's 14 players, maybe around 7 people, half and half.
14 players on the tribe.
No, they're 14, like across the season, they're 14 players. There's 2 tribes of 7.
So Australia 7, the world 7.
Yes.
Damn.
Yeah, it's really tight this season. Dude, I'll sacrifice my game for Mucky and Gabe. Mucky
first Virtual. Yo, Gabe, you and I'm taking you to the end, my bro. You and I the whole way, Gabe. Chadu, we can get him out after we get Mucky out, Gabe. I reckon that's the go if you're in on that.
Chris would throw Mucky under the bus for sure, lol. Well,
I'd work with Chris. Were you up at 5?
Yeah, no, Chris would throw me under the bus, but it's a good thing. I've got that social game. I've got that first boot energy. I might be able to skate on by through because everyone thinks George would have been the first boot, but look who he is now. I'm channeling my inner George.
Don't do that.
I am the king of Macadamia. No, but in terms of merge, I do think it's going to be around 7 players. Like, 7 people. Final 2, 5-person jury, maybe. I could also see.
There's no way to be final 5 jury, surely. Is that too? Yeah. Is that too small?
I feel like that is too small. Maybe there's a chance that everyone's a part of the jury. You get what I mean? I can see maybe like an Edge of I know a lot of people don't like the twist. I love Edge of Extinction, but if you were to bring on Edge of Extinction, Global Championship is a way to do it. Keep all your stars still in the game. Just on an island, still creating drama. George is probably going to be the new Reem of that island. And, just have them all be a part of the jury. So if it's a final 3.
So everyone's on the jury.
Imagine
it's like after the first boot, then everyone's on the jury. So just one dude.
Just one person.
Loser. And then everyone else is on the jury.
That would be pretty bloody great. But, yes. So David and Sarah. Do you think there'll be a locked-in alliance, or do you reckon Sarah might just try to go solo? Because this is Sarah's second time playing, first time since season 2. She probably wouldn't want to play just a safe, easy game.
Nah, she'd want to be like, I have something to prove, maybe.
Yeah.
Because she got pretty far in season 2. But yeah. And then, I guess because David has a big name, if he does well again and she goes far with him, then it's like, she went far because she was with David.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I hope that she'll play her own game. But I also have a theory because from the promo, I only saw one shot of her. What if she gets out early? What if people are like, I don't know who she is. She's probably not even good to work with. Because, people, I don't know, haven't seen her in a while or something. I don't know. So maybe she just gets voted out early.
There's something we can quickly talk about. So in the promo, especially the first shot, we've got the 4 big names head on to the tribe. You've got the Golden God David, you've got Shonee, George and King of the Jungle Luke all in that one shot with the Australian flag behind them. They're clearly the biggest stars heading onto the season. I would argue Kirby is also a massive star going into it, but they are arguably the 4 biggest legends going in. Do you think that there is a shot where they all are like, we are the biggest players, we are the biggest characters and names, let's keep each other safe?
I don't think that'll happen. I think they're too. David's like, oh, it's the all about me party, and then Shonee's like, it's all about me party. You know what I mean? And then Luke isn't like that, but then on his confessionals, he's like, it's all about me party. You know, like I think there'll be too much ego between the 4 of them. Not that they're necessarily all egotistical people.
Yeah.
All. But you know, I think that, and George definitely is. It's like all about me. I think George and David will have a flipping hard time working together.
Yeah, 100%. When something that Gabe even brings up here, I know David doesn't like George from Ahab because of Brains vs. Brawn 1. Well, I doubt he's going to like, George from Heroes versus Villains either. And you're absolutely right, because George needs his way, but David also needs his way, right?
Yeah.
So they're obviously going to clash together. I can see a world where maybe, exactly what you say here, Danica, Kirby, George, and Shonee, like, will they bond against the rest?
I can see that.
And I can see that if that was to happen, I can see Sarah flipping on that. Because I feel like if we can see that, obviously Luke and David tight, Luke, Sarah play together, they're pretty tight. Obviously, like Luke, Janine, David, Janine, they all play together, they're all fairly tight, right? I think if we can all see that's tight, I feel like everyone else is going to see that is very tight as well. So is Sarah going to play a very standard game, a safe game? Because that would be the safe game. All eyes would be.
Or is she going to flip to the other hypothetical alliance to be like, nah, like I'm making this my game.
Yeah,
exactly. Which would be cool. I would like to see that if that's what happens.
Yeah, like ideally in a perfect world, as much as I feel really bad for saying this, I would kind of hope that Janine has gone first out of that champions group. Because we've seen Luke and David play from the bottom before, and they play so well together on the bottom. Let's not forget, they flipped a 7-2 minority without playing a single idol.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I would love to see them scramble on the bottom again and somehow claw all the way back up to the top. So I do kind of hope if Sarah was to flip, that Janine probably would be the first to go. But at the same time, I do like Janine, and I mean, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like, are you hoping to see Janine go pretty far?
I thought Janine was all good. Like, she's obviously like, an acclaimed player. She did well. She had influence in the game. Like, she's great. I don't feel like a particular like, yo, Janine. Like she's cool. I'm pretty indifferent. And maybe this season will change my mind. We'll see. But Janine's fine. I think instinctively I want to see George go. We'll see though.
Yeah. I mean, like, as much as I love George, like we've seen so much of him, where it's like I'd rather see, like, Luke's obviously my favorite player of all time.
Is he?
Yeah, I did you not know that? Yeah. Oh gosh. I love Luke so much. He's my favorite player of all time. So I'd want to see sort of more of him, because we haven't seen a lot of him playing Survive. We've seen him on Big Brother, which he absolutely dominated one. We saw him on Traders, where he was cut around the halfway mark. So this is like seeing him, which even then Traders was like 2022. So that was still like 3 years ago. You get what I mean?
Damn. 2022, really? Wasn't it 2023?
No, it was when.
Yeah,
no, it was 2023. Sorry, 2 years ago. Sorry, my bad.
Stupid.
Yes, I'm stupid. Gosh. We do have some comments here. That's why you get rid of one when you flip Mucky. Don't risk flipping on David and Luke while keeping both of them. George will create the TV. It's because he likes doing crazy plans that backfire on him, isn't it, Mucky? Yeah, I mean, that's the way to live life, and to create all the best TV. You got to make really bad plans You gotta, make sure it backfires on you.
Actually, George won't create the TV. It was actually Philo Farnsworth who invented the TV, so you're wrong.
Come on, Chai, dude, do your research. But someone who we haven't actually chatted about much was someone who I was just showing you earlier, and that is Kirby. Curbs. She is the newest player on the block. She played in Times vs Rebels, which came out 2024. She was a Rebel, massive player. I've seen her many times. She's almost like the Tony Vlachos in Kagayan, where she was sort of all over the place. A lot of her moves probably shouldn't have worked, but somehow they always did. You get what I mean? And brother. And she's obviously coming into the season. She does have one main connection, and that's with Luke, because her and Luke used to work for the same mining company together. They actually did a podcast together about her game as well on Luke. I forgot the name of it. It's like, what kind of podcast is this, or something.
He has his own podcast.
Yeah, it's like, what kind of podcast is this? Like, he used to do a lot of stuff with David, like 2021, I think. But then
True, I know that. That's cool.
Yeah, Kirby will be the new blood in this tribe. She plays so straightforward and honest. It shouldn't work, but did. Yeah, and I just sort of love to hear your thoughts, Hamish, because we've got all these like massive names, all these massive pre-connections heading into the show, pre-animosities, like enemies and stuff as well.
What I've been able to gather about Kirby is that she is somebody with a very positive attitude. And I think times where I've seen players have a pretty negative attitude have been times where like it's not going their way and they're like, oh, I'm going to sulk now. And then next round they get voted out.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think the outlook you have on the game and just, everything day to day in general has a big impact on how long you're in the game.
Absolutely.
So I think that, her mindset is gonna like help her stay in the game longer, unless she gets voted out first. But I think that she will be able to be like clear headed, and make the right decisions. So I think that if other people are willing to work with her, like she could do well. I don't think that she's gonna like be jeopardizing her own game with dumb stuff, basically.
Yeah. And that's why I call this the Luke group. He has connections all over. Well, let's talk about the King of the Jungle, Hamish. As we do in our day-to-day lives.
I hate him.
King of the Jungle, baby, did I get you one of his shirts or something like that?
No.
I thought I did. It was like a hat, face mask. It was something like that regarding to Luke.
No.
Or did I just keep it for myself?
You probably just kept it for yourself, bro. Probably received it and you're like, oh, my precious.
My precious. It's mine. Like, he does have connections all over the place. We've already talked about a lot with David. With Janine, obviously worked close with Janine. With Sarah, I'd find it quite interesting because they had a very up-down relationship across the season. Where at the start, she wasn't really working with him. Then the merge, they worked together. Then they were like at war with each other. And then they worked very closely together, But then again, as Gabe brings up, Luke's like to create moves that heavily backfire on him. Luke pulled Sarah into the amazing 3-2-2-2 split on Tessa, and Sarah copped majority of the blame for it, and she's out next, right?
Right.
So what do you think this sort of relationship is going to be going into the season?
I guess I probably kind of described it briefly before, but I think they'll have that respect for each other. I think they'll like each other as people. Yeah. I think that they'll be wary, like your enemy that you respect.
Yeah.
I think they'll be like that, basically.
Yeah. And, let's talk about, the elephant in the room, Luke and George. We talked about that David and George will never work together because they're of their own egos. They both need to be the alpha, the one in charge. But what do you think about Luke? Do you think there's a chance Luke and George could potentially team up?
think that Luke would find it crack up to vote out George. Yeah. I think he would be like, who's this guy? And acting like he's the king. Yeah. I'm the king. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to take him down. And he does it partially from the ego thing, but mostly just because he's just like, this would be hilarious if we just like, put to silence this guy who thinks he's the best. Let's shut him up,
Yeah.
I think that would be him.
Yeah, I do think there's a chance where, we did see Luke, he tried something at least with Andy for a small bit before Andy did kind of, flip-flop everywhere. And then Luke was like, nah, just screw this guy. I'm just going to take him out. I can see maybe, that sort of vibe potentially where, as Gabe says here, I think Kirby would take David before Luke. I think if David's gone, Luke may want another shield, while David's a strategic and physical shield. George is a massive strategic shield for Luke. So maybe if David gets taken out, maybe Luke and George will sort of work together.
I can see. I feel like as far as personalities go, I can see Luke and Shonee. I feel like they have similar.
One.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can see them being like, "Oh, I just vibe with you," and then so they would form an alliance based on that. And it's known that Luke likes to make his alliances based on who stays up talking with me and who's he makes his alliances a lot based on how he likes to socialize with people. And so I reckon he and Shonee would get on well, and then so they would just create that alliance because they've had that social game with each other.
100%. And you saw the preview where Luke and David laughed at Kingdom's comment.
Is that just the editing though? What if he didn't say it to them? We don't know that he actually said it to them.
I do think that there's a chance. I do think that there was a confessional where George says, and
then it was just a clip of them laughing.
But I can see George saying something like that to David. I don't think it will be as extreme, but I think it will be, I'm the king, you peasants, something like that.
You think you're the golden god and you're the king of the jungle? Well, let me tell you.
Exactly. And Luke and Shonee would work great together. They like having fun, 100%. Which fun fact as well. There's a podcast that Parvati did with Shonee quite recently on, I think, Nice Girls Don't Win. I believe that's the channel called. And Shonee was actually in the casting process for the same Traders season as Luke. But however, she found out she was pregnant pretty much just before the show started filming. I think they were doing medical and physical checks and stuff, and that's how she discovered she was pregnant. It's like, oh, sorry.
Maybe that's another thing they'll bond over. It's like, oh, I'm a parent too.
Yeah, exactly.
I
mean, Luke's story is a wonderful one. He's a family man. His son's got autism, daughter with cystic fibrosis, and I don't know if you've seen a lot of Luke's Instagram, but his daughter's really sick in the hospital and stuff. She's pretty much been living there, helping her out, supporting them and whatnot. And so, I can see Luke trying to maybe form a parents group, a parents alliance,
parents alliance.
Like we do see with Parvati in Winners at War. She was really sad because she was leaving her daughter behind, right? So maybe
what about Dirty Harry's 3-year-old son?
True. Maybe that's why Dirty Harry and Luke got along so well, because of Oscar.
Yeah.
David would make a comment of what's a god to a king. Absolutely. This trial's gonna be so much fun, man.
It's just gonna be a bunch of overly my testosterone is bigger than yours.
Exactly.
Yeah. A lot of people who think they're the best, and then they get angry because somebody else thinks they're the best, and then
But you've got so many of the biggest screen time hogs on the cast, like George, who just soaks up every single second of every episode. Luke is just so funny, but also takes a lot of screen time. David's also a screen time hog. I recall hearing one of David's interviews, he was like, if you're not part of the drama or the action, you won't get asked anything at tribal council. So he tried to involve himself as much as he can in every little argument on champions versus contenders. So then he'll be asked more questions at tribal. And Shonee as well, I'm pretty sure if there was a fan favorite award for every single season, Shonee would have won it on every single season that she was on. I do kind of feel bad because I kind of feel like there's a chance that maybe Kirby, Janine, and Sarah
will get less time.
Maybe get a little bit less screen time.
Yeah, it would be like you.
Yeah, I would get no screen time, but I would still find an idol and give
and no one would even know you have the idol because you just wouldn't have the screen time. It would be all me who has the screen time.
Yeah,
it'd just be me sitting there.
It would be like in my final words, I hold up the idol and everyone's like, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah, you know when Kent set up shop, it would be like, I'm going to do that, but it would just be an hour of me sitting on the beach.
Or you'd be like the other Kent and you say, all right, guys,
I'm the praying mantis.
I'm the praying mantis and I'm going to vote out Hamish, but I'm going to tell that to one person and then I'm going to take a nap.
It's just a Kent thing, bro. They just love like setting up shop.
Setting up shops. I mean, that is, I guess leading into the next question, who's going to be the most quiet player on this tribe? I feel like if you're constantly taking naps, you won't get noticed you're on the tribe.
And then you won't get voted out.
And you won't get voted out. It's almost kind of like, when you're scared of the monster under your bed.
Stealth game.
If you hide under your blankets, because if you can't see it, it can't see you. That's how it's always gone in horror films, right? So,
yeah,
if the tribe can't see you, then
I wish I couldn't see you.
I wish I couldn't see you either. Guys, help me. It's a pain being next to them. But Janine probably, I don't know, because let's not forget with Kirby, that Kirby is quite a introverted kind of player. She sit back. She has really deep connections with a lot of people. That's sort of her superpowers, that she builds very deep connections very quickly. But she's not, I'm the king of Survivor. I'm the golden god. You know what I mean? She's not like Shonee, who's just very extrovert and stuff as well. She's very much more to herself, which I feel like is either going to help her because everyone else is going to be noticing each other really, really quickly.
Yeah, they'll be getting annoyed at just sick of fucking your ego. You know what I mean? It makes my ego feel sad. I'm going to get you out. And then Kirby's just kind of he's steeping through the cracks. I can see that. This could be a quiet player's game, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which something else I do want to ask: if George somehow makes it through, right? Now hear me out. So let's go through the scenario that Sarah does flip because she's playing an individual game, right? It's not friend of Ivor. It's she's playing a really hard game. So it's her, Kirby, Shonee, George, majority, and I guess just go with the dream scenario. Luke and David are on the bottom, right? They take out Janine first. What's George's longevity in the game? Do you think he's just sniped next and then it's a 3-2 majority? Or do you think I guess the question I'm sort of asking is how far do we think realistically he will go, even if he does become part of the majority?
I think that in George's second season, there were obviously more people knew him, but he'd only really done it the one time, and there were people that obviously didn't know him as well going into it. So I think with George, it could be not the same, but a similar thing to with David, where if you don't know what he does, then you don't really know to look out for it. And I mean, to be fair, that could be said for any either winner or strong player. I think that George's biggest downfall is gonna be his reputation.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess talking about with David, we saw a lot of him in the trailer. A lot of them. It was almost everything to do with Australian. It was David. All the challenge shots is David. He gets a laugh at the end. He's I'm pretty sure he's the first Australian tribe.
There's a lot of David in the promo.
Yeah. So do we think that potentially he goes out early? Maybe he's the first spook for all we know, right?
George.
No, David.
Oh, right.
Do you think that maybe they're going to squeeze as much as they can out of him for all the promos and stuff because he's an early boot? Or do we think maybe there's a good sign of he makes it really far and they're trying to really hype him up?
It could be either of those. It could also be foreshadowing with him laughing at George sequence. It could be foreshadowing that there's going to be them go head to head, but then in the end he finally takes out George. Or it could be just them knowing that fans love David, and so they're just putting him a lot of him in the promo because they're just well, this will get us views. Yeah, they might not be that deep,
Yeah, true. Because something as far as that, if you were to look at a scale of reality TV players, David is currently number one. He's seen as the best Survivor winner in Australia, but also he's won Deal or No Deal Island as well. So he's a very recent big player. I feel like producers probably know he was on Deal or No Deal Island as well. So maybe they're since he's so recent, let's try shove him in as much as we can. So people are I know this guy.
I've seen this guy.
I've seen this guy. He seems right.
He won a bit of money on that Deal or No Deal show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was only 5.8. I can earn $5.80. $5.08.
Well, joke's on you. I can win 580 cents.
Damn right, that's pretty crazy. Wait, 580 cents. So that is 100 cents is $1. So,
So that's the same thing you just said.
Yeah.
That was the joke.
Yeah, I just did the maths and it's accurate.
I'm glad that checked out in your brain.
But I guess just before we start to like wrap things up, let's go through each player. And since we don't know when the merge is going to happen, right? I'm going to say late game, early game. So late game is they're going to go really far. You know, like I guess from whenever merges to potentially winning the
winning.
show.
Early game is until merge.
Until merge, yeah. All right, so I guess we'll start off. We've talked a lot about him already. George.
Early game.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too. As you've brought up, Chadu, you know, George needs an early merge to do well.
He needs to be on the non-elim that puts him on the other tribe.
Yeah, pretty much for any shot to happen. Actually, who do we think is going to flip on the Australian tribe first? Would it be George? I mean, I feel like there's almost a guarantee, but if he's not there to do
if
so,
it's not George, I don't think it will be one of the other big names. It'll be one of the quieter people.
Yeah.
You know, like Sarah or Kirby or something like that. Like,
yeah.
Or whatever. But yeah, probably George, I think.
Yeah. I can see, you know, Kirby flipping on the Australian team just simply of, well, I can make real deep connections. Like maybe with Cassandra from Quebec or Tommy from Finland, these sort of unknowns. Maybe she'd be like, "Hey, we're a bunch of unknowns."
Just treat it like the last time that she was on when it.
Yeah. All right, Kirby.
I'll say late. I'm going to take a chance and say late. I don't have a lot to go off of, but I'll say late.
I do think that that Kirby is a late game as well. I think the only reason why I should be taken out early is if they're like, you know, we don't know what the schedule is going to be, right? Maybe, you know, if they get out there, it's like, oh my God, immunity challenge straight away, tribals the very first night, right? And so I can maybe see, you know, if they don't know Kirby as well.
They're like, we don't know, just get rid of it, might as well.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe if George finds an idol, who's a split target?
Kirby,
kid on the block.
True.
Yeah, but apart from that, I can see Kirby finding a way to seek through the cracks while all the egos and personalities start bashing against each other.
Yeah, let them take apart themselves, kind of.
Yeah, and I guess the next player is Sarah.
So I might be overthinking this one, but she only had one brief shot in the promo. Like, that could just be because people haven't seen her since 2017, so having a lot of her in the promo, people won't care. Actually, you know what? I'm going to take back that. I think... I said before it's going to be a quiet player's game. She's on the quieter end. I think she's going to go late game.
Late game, yeah. I think she's late game. I feel like, I mean, because I'm obviously personally rooting for David and Luke, right? I want one of them to win the season. But if I couldn't pick them, my best call would be Sarah. I would put her as like a winner pick. Yeah. Almost, just in terms of, we've seen she's a very capable player, very social, very strategic.
Yeah.
But she doesn't need to get away. You know what I mean? Her ego's never once gotten the best of her. She's never been like, I need to have full control. She likes playing in the middle. So I can see her letting all the personalities fight it out because, you know, there's still a whole another tribe. Like, exactly, Danica. Tony's going to find all the idols. Got all these massive American personalities. Rob from South Africa, he's a massive personality as well. Like, they're all going to clash at merge or swap.
Yeah,
you know
right.
What I mean? So... And I can see Sarah, similar to Kirby, picking up, picking up all the pieces of like the quieter players, so like New Zealand, Finland, Quebec, and maybe that's the big strong alliance.
Who do we have from New Zealand?
Lisa from.
I'm voting for Lisa. I don't know who Lisa is, but I'm voting for Lisa. She's my winner pick.
Yeah,
I'd never heard of her.
Team New Zealand. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, next player, David.
I'm very on the fence about this one. Like, you know, it's that kind of like, maybe right before, right after merge. I'm gonna say early just to throw a spanner, you know, in the works.
Yeah, I think it's hard because I feel like with David, he has the capabilities to go really far. You go, and we've seen him do it multiple times.
He's a bit of a shield, though, for people.
He's a massive shield, and I guess I will give like David a prop up compared to George, because when David played in All Stars, even though All Stars is kind of a a lot of people joke about it not having like real proper good players on there. At least David had competition. He went up against AK, Shonee, Dirty Harry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he went up against these great, like Brooke, great social, strategic, physical like players, and still came out. Whereas George's only competition for Heroes vs. Villains was Shonee and Haley. I guess Nina, to a certain degree, Nina's a competent player, but we never got to see her full potential in Blood vs. Water. But because she was medically evacuated.
What about Simon? Massive.
Yeah. Simon. I'm very sad to see that Simon's not on Australian Tribe, though. I reckon that would have been so funny. Yeah,
you're just a simp.
I'm a simp for Simon. SS.
Simon simp.
Simon simp.
Yeah.
Simon says simp.
I also think that Gabe agreeing that David's going out early is exactly why Gabe and I are going to work so well together in Australian Survivor, and why we're taking you out first. Yeah,
but you see, Childhood and I, we go way back, all right?
Yeah, I don't care. Childhood's going out second.
No. Childhood's going to win. I'm going to be his goat. Childhood, you're going to drag me all the way to the very end. And Gabe, brother, like, we've gone through so much together. Are you really just going to ditch me for like a one?
I'm ditching you.
Well, yeah, I expect it. But me and Mucky are pulling out. You're damn right, Chado. You're damn right. But yeah, with David, it's hard because, like, I might have to say early game too. Like he's just such a big name, such a big target. And as you mentioned earlier, Gabe, it's like, if there's no way you're taking out a Janine in that alliance unless you're still I see Sarah trying to play both sides of the coin, so maybe keeping David Luke around for that. But that's still you're playing with fire, keeping them both around. You know what I mean? So you've got to take out one over the other.
She'll be playing the social game, that's for sure.
Yeah. So I am going to say.
I wonder if, because she's like a much quieter Shonee in the way that she's like very social game oriented. I wonder if like Shonee will see Sarah as a threat.
Yes.
Yes. She'll be like, oh, like, you're doing what I'm doing. Go away.
I mean, yeah, because there's almost two ways we can see this, right? It's like either A, all the big characters and names stick together, or like all the quieter players are going to team up on all the big players as they take each other out. But I can also potentially see you're playing a similar game to me. Shonee might look at Sarah and be like, you're doing exactly what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's a big threat, so I got to take you out. It's going to be so interesting watching this tribe. I can't wait to see this tribe in action. But the king of the jungle, Luke Toki.
I think like he's obviously one of the people that people know about.
Yeah.
But not in the way it's like, oh, well, people know about David. People know about George. I think people know about Luke, and probably more in the way that they're like, oh, I just like George as a person.
Yeah.
I think that they would just want to like be his mate,
Yeah.
And so I can see more people wanting to work with Luke and take him. So I would say late for Luke.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely saying agreements, especially because if you were to take out Luke or David, they're like 100%, like 100% agree with you here, Gabe, where Luke does have the most connections pre-game, but also pre-game connections doesn't necessarily translate to on the island. I know in a lot of interviews for Heroes vs. Villains, everyone talked about how with All-Stars, there were so many pre-game alliances, pre-game connections going out. That's what David really used to his advantage, because he just tore those apart. Because then it wasn't like, oh, I've been betrayed by my allies. Oh my God, I've been betrayed by a personal friend. You go in. So David really exploited a lot of that. And so I feel like no one's going to make the same mistake again. I feel like all those stories probably tainted a lot of pre-game for Australia. So I can see, like Luke can maybe go out early. Maybe if you want to keep David as a massive shield, but it's similar to keeping George as a shield, right? It's like, do you really want to play with this massive dragon and hoping it doesn't blast fire on you? You know what I mean? So I see Luke going really, really far personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't say that as a simp.
Yeah, but I am saying it as a simp.
Yeah, I know. That's why I needed to make that distinction so that people knew
Yeah.
it actually came from a place of genuine logic.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm wearing my creeping shirt straight underneath this.
I'm not surprised.
But unfortunately, a lot of the green letters is actually
it's just a black shirt now.
It's just black, but you can roughly see creeping on it, which is pretty creepy in itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like the creepy is creeping on the shirt.
It is exactly like
creeping.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Mucky, you'd pull a Luke plan that backfires and screws Charles over than yourself.
Couldn't agree more.
As a battle of egos on this tribe, yeah, we've got massive egos, Hamish. You're like the manager of MacPack, and while I'm your employee, I make the best sales.
Well, that's because I'm doing admin in the back.
Yeah,
if I was on the floor all day, bro, you'd be eating my dust.
Sounds like a bunch of excuses, if you ask me, guys. Luke, yeah, he's got the most connections, plus his positive energy draws people towards him. That's something as well, right? It was like, you know, George, massive villain, he would draw a lot of negativity and stuff like that. You know, he would want to get dirty.
I'm the king.
I'm the king. And
bow down.
Bow down.
My soldiers. More medieval analogies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And while David, he does have a phenomenal social game, he is definitely that villainous kind of player as well. But like we saw, like Luke, he had, was it the cookies with Jericho? He had the nighttime rice with Harry and Maiden as well, where they just snuck off and ate rice. And something that I loved about like Luke's game that was been shown in the edit was he was asked to spy on Harry all the time, right? And but he would just go up to him and be like, "Oi, like I've been told to, you know, keep an eye on you, but like we should just idol hunt together." And that's just how they bonded because they were both
true.
idols. It's like he didn't care if Harry found an idol. He was like, let's work together.
Yeah.
Pretty funny. So
he just wants to have fun.
Yeah, exactly. But speaking of someone who, so Gabe, I would pull out the idol and send you home. Me and Mucky ride to final 2. But you got to make sure it's not in the shape of a cookie, Chardu.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
but also Chardu, like I don't know what idol you're finding because I already have it.
Yeah, Hamish is the idol. He's a musician. He's got American's Idol.
Yeah. Never been to the States, but I've got I've won American Idol already.
Yeah, exactly.
Like in my mind, if I believe it, then I'll see it.
Do you reckon if Stags Yarrow hosted a Survivor, a hidden immunity idol would just be like antlers?
Nah, the clue, rather than being a map or anything, it'll be like Stags Yarrow lyrics, and you have to like decode them, and like that tells you like where I've hidden the idol, you know.
Yeah, it would be really fun if the clue was "I'm the dark," and so you can only find the idol at nighttime. Yeah,
it's like a glow in the dark thing, but it's so well camouflaged, like into the side of a tree, painted like the exact color. You won't see it. Yeah, you know, but then it's glow in the dark.
Yeah. It'll be really funny though if it's like at a specific time of night though. It like just shines bright, kind of like the lightning that hit Norca. You know what I mean?
It just has like
flash of white.
It has like the iPhone alarm go off.
Yeah, and then I will find out the idol stealer advantage and send you home, Hamish.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I think you guys win. Here's the idol stealer.
Yeah,
except I have the idol stealer nullifier.
Exactly. And then, but what if Charter has an idol stealer nullifier's nullifier? What if he can nullify your nullifier? I mean, we're basically turned into American Survivor at this point. My nullifier counteracts your nullifier.
Yeah, if we were playing an American Survivor, you guys would win, but we're not.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Because since it's Australian Survivor, a lot of it is social game, having a personality and being able to think. We would still win.
Yeah, but you're not funny though.
Anyways, no, but I guess we still have Janine and Shonee to talk about. Let's talk about Janine because we haven't chatted about it too much.
Yeah,
how far is Janine going?
I think that, to be honest, I'm gonna say early. I feel early.
Yeah. Yeah, like it's really hard because I don't really know Janine. You know what I mean? Where it's like I can see her being like. Because she's not a big flashy player, you know what I mean? Like she was a big player, but she definitely let like David and Luke do all the flashy stuff. You get what I mean? And sorry, I just bring all this up. Destroyed. Gabe says I just have the necklace. I have the necklace nullified.
This is what I like.
What if they're allowed to actually steal items from each other? Like if I found in someone's bag, they could just take it. Yeah. So Chardude, what if Hamish takes your nullifier, but then you take Hamish's nullifier?
I'm not gonna sleep. I'm just gonna wait for Chardude to sleep, and then I'm just gonna be like watching over his bag. The moment he starts snoring, I take it. I'm running off into the forest, digging a hole. You don't know where I'm sleeping. I'm not in the main hut. Yeah. I'm sleeping in my hole.
Or maybe, hear me out, you super glue the advantage of the person's hand, because you have to hand the advantage over to use it, but you can't hand it over if it's super glued.
Or what I do is I start cutting into a branch, but not enough that it falls off completely. But so then when the bro goes to like get some stuff, it falls on him, and then he gets medically evacuated. That's violent. How I'm taking you out of the game.
That's pretty violent. You know, we do not condone violence here on Mucky Hub Productions. Then I'll snitch at you. But yeah, I do kind of agree with you here, Gabe. Janine, the thing middle of merge, like, I don't know. I feel like she's either going to be making it pretty far, but isn't like a big flashy player. You go, I mean, she's sort of, I guess, similar to Kirby, sort of under the radar a wee bit, or she goes out. Really.
I feel like she'll have quite like she's the type who's on the quieter side, but also has like a bit of an ego as well.
Yeah,
you know, she's like. Not like, hey guys, look at me, I'm the best. Yeah. But like when you come to her, she's like, oh, I'm the best, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I feel like she'll still rub people the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know, I think that she's not as agreeable as maybe Kirby and Sarah would be as far as the quieter players go. Yeah. Which is why I would say earlier.
Yeah, and I guess something else as well, like she makes more money on the day-to-day than playing Survivor. Like, you know, if she won Champions vs. Contenders, she would have made more money staying at home than the 500,000, which is pretty bloody crazy. Because
is she single?
Yeah, she's single. Yeah, because she's the CEO of the Boost Juice company. She does Shark Tank. I think she recently did something with Gordon Ramsay as well. And yeah, so Janine's obviously a massive fan, and that's why she's here. And she said before she doesn't want to return to just an ordinary returning player season. She wants it to be something truly special. So I'm glad that she is here for Australia vs. the World. And Hamish, that won't work. You get 48 hours of medical leave on Survivor. Yeah, so you'll medically evacuate Chardude, and then he'll come back at the final 3.
See, that's okay, though, because in those 48 hours, that's how Gabe and I are getting you out, because we have the majority against you. And then Chardude comes back, then we get Chardude out.
But twist, we have Danica join us. And Danica, you know, we go way back, honestly, to, you know, through the nullified take. Would you work with me, or would you rather work with a not good musician?
One moment. Danica, did I ever tell you how funny you are? I actually think you're really amazing. I just wanted to say I hope you're having a great day. We'll come back to this question later.
Yeah, sounds good. Go say, Danica, I have so much love.
Shut up, Michael.
But yeah, if I had to stick with something, I'm just going to say early game. Like, you know, swap maybe. Yeah. Easy one to take out. Because I do think the swap period might be a time where they're like, okay, we've got to keep the big names around for the merge. So maybe she's taken out like a swap kind of period.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Danica, don't trust that. I love how we've gone from just talking about straight and Survivor to us
pre-gaming right now.
Mucky Hope Productions Survivor. Mucky messaged this morning about the live, so I've decided with him.
I don't see the relevance.
Danica, would you risk being voted out because of a mistake by Mucky? Hey, mistakes come, you know, sometimes you go and make a mistake to go forward. You know,
like your parents?
Yeah, so, you know, my parents obviously had me, and then they're like, you know what? Like, our love isn't actually that strong. And so then they found other beautiful relationships afterwards.
It was your fault.
It was my fault. And so now they're both in, you know, separate marriages, you know, stepmom, stepdad, beautiful, wonderful relationships. Yeah. They're both very happy now, all because I was born.
You're right, Michael. You're right.
I'm right, yeah.
Yeah.
Because my last name is Hope after all. So I bring hope to people's lives. And so if you side with me, hope will be on your side.
But if Mucky made a mistake, he'd be
out to be free.
Oh, true. So once we blindside Mucky, then you work with me. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
She's a flipper flopper. I'm okay with that.
But are you going to work with Danica to take out Gabe though?
No. Gabe's
Gabe's
my
boy.
ride or die, bro.
Yeah, see Danica, like
I'm loyal.
See, Danica, you heard it here, okay? You got to stick with Chardu tonight. Yeah, we've gone so far on topic. Oh my god!
Yeah, we'll get to it on the island.
We'll get to it, in my Mucky Hope Survivor apartment or something.
Oh, Survivor in the apartment.
Survivor in the
apartment. Oh, true.
And like 1-bedroom apartment. I reckon we could fit 5 people in here. Wait, how many people were here for my birthday? It was what? You, Dan, Aisha. Who else was here? Liam, Graham, Nathan, Maine, and myself. There was 8.
That was pretty packed, though.
Yeah.
And I think you had less furniture then.
I did, yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, and
once I returned from the medics. Crack up.
All right, but last but not least, Shonee.
If she does get into a war with Sarah and then she gets taken out early, like if she loses that war, I could see it. But otherwise, I don't think. I think that like she's more like stroppy and out there, but I don't think her ego is as like frustrating to deal with as like George, David. You know what I mean? So unless she follows them, if those two go out in succession, not that I think that isn't going to happen. Unless she goes out following them, I can see her being late.
Yeah, I can see her being late too, because we've seen Shonee's social game is so massive, so powerful, right? So I can see her, even if like the big guns aren't sticking together. If they are trying to stick together, Shonee will be the one, she'll be poking George's ego. Like, are you really going to take that from the Golden God?
Yeah.
You're seen as the best player. Aren't you the best player? And like, hey, Golden God, like this guy calls himself a king, but he's really just a cockroach. Are you really going to listen to him? Like, let him tell you what to do.
That's a good game.
Yeah, so I can see Shonee. Yeah, exactly. Shonee does have the magic social game. So I can see her tearing these sort of alpha males apart and
by just playing with their testosterone.
Yeah, exactly. And with the podcast she did with Parvati, they seem to get along really, really well. And it kind of makes me think, even on the podcast, because there's such a great like banter back and forth. And even on the podcast, they said that on day 1 for the opening challenge, they could at least talk to each other and stuff. I wonder if maybe there's some of that was like they somehow end up on a tribe together. You get what I mean? But then again, like obviously you can talk to people after the show. It was only like a 2-week long game, so maybe straight after they reconnected, became like close friends then. But but I can't see Shonee going really, really far, because half the time Survivor's just being likable. You get what I mean? And one thing we've seen from Shonee is that everyone adores Shonee. While we talk about George ran the villains camp, it was actually Shonee that was running everything, because George couldn't do what he did without Shonee's social game, because Shonee Jordan Liz, so that made like a 3.
Liz
Shonee,
was my boy.
Liz was your boy. Shonee also Jordan Geordie, which Geordie brought Fraser in as well. And so you get what I mean? Like everyone was connected to Shonee more so than George. So I can't see a scenario where Shonee, if she wanted to on villains camp, could have taken out George, and there's not much he really could have done.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah, so I do think Shonee would go really far. Everyone wanting to work with it, that might scare some people. 100%. Shonee would flip if it benefits her too. Yeah, exactly. I see Shonee flipping on Australians.
That's a good point.
Logan reminded me of Shonee a lot last season. Like maybe it was the voice, but the attitude too. Yeah, 100%. You screw with Shonee, she will. I mean, I don't think she flips out like Logan, but you have burnt me. Yeah, burnt me. That does sort of bring us towards the end of our podcast, but we do have to put this to an end. So then I guess I'd stick with Chardid and Mucky. We can bring in Dolores and too. We're from the same state, so we're already bonded. Oh yeah. Plot twist, Dolores has now entered the game too.
Okay, but every single this is like your minority of 4. Every single other person on the tribe is siding with Gabe and me.
Siding with Gabe and you. Well, there are 6 people on the live, and we've got 4 4 people. To be
No, but it's not just
yeah.
this, because it's not going to be a 6-person tribe, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
The rest of the tribe's not here right
This
now,
tribe,
but they're going to work with Gabe and me. So you guys are screwed. You've stuffed yourself. You could have worked with us.
However, some of the best alliances have started when there's only 4 people. Like, look at Luke, David, Janine, Pia. What are you going to say to that, huh? Go on, say something, do you?
But you're not Luke.
Hurry up, say something.
You're not Luke, David, Janine, and Pia, are you? You're Mucky.
Well, yeah, but Mucky...
You're going to muck it up.
I'm going to muck it up. Question. If you could add another male player to this tribe, who would you want to even it out?
You're going to say Simon.
Actually, no. I
Andy!
Sneaky Steve, obviously. Sneaky Steve. Wait, hold on. I'm also on the live on my phone, TV, and computer. So yes. So that's of the people watching. Danica.
Oh, true.
Yeah. So
you guys you have a smaller alliance than you thought.
Well, no, because it's still us 4. So myself, Danica, Chardude, and Dolores.
Yeah.
And it's just you and Gabe.
And all the rest of the people in the tribe.
But who's all the rest of the people?
We'll find out when we get on the island. But they're going to work with us. They won't like.
But since Danica has got her TV, phone, and computer, obviously the TV, phone, and computer are 3 people.
My mistake. Hold on, I need to rerun these calculations.
Exactly. But if I had to add in like another male player to make everything even Stevens, I would want like another huge name, right? While Simon is a huge name, he's a big character, not necessarily a big player, if that makes sense. While some people may want Ferris because he's a recent start alongside Kirby, I personally don't really need to see Ferris come back straight away. So I kind of feel like even Matt Rogers, he was the guy that you were calling that one episode I showed you of All Stars where David and that guy worked together to take out Daisy. No? Okay, so anyways, David and this guy called Matt worked together to take out Daisy. Matt had an idol, David whispered name to him. Basically, Matt is known as the godfather of Australia.
You remember that? The poker player who got voted out second in season 2?
Adam.
Yeah.
That's who you want to see. Yeah, and what's that? How about Matt, who was the wrestler? I mean, no, it's like I would want to like for a season like this, I personally would want all the big names on the cast, if you get what I mean. I do think that's why it is such a short season. It's because they really wanted all the big names. Like if you had to get 3
Dirty
guys,
Harry,
Dirty Harry would have been great, but like, would you swap out Luke, David, or George for Harry?
No.
Yeah, exactly. Like when it comes to like the men, especially, they're the 3 guys to get, and so I think that's why it's a shortened season to try to get as many of the big legends on as much as they possibly can. Imagine the Godmother and Godfather one season. Yeah, that would have been pretty great. AJ, I don't know which season filmed first. If it was Australia vs. World filmed first, then Branch was born too. But yeah, AJ or Miles, I feel like would have been a great pick as well as for someone who's just really recent. But it would kind of suck because they won't have any time to, to bond or talk to anyone before coming back up to play again, right? So
yeah.
Maybe even Nick, the original Snake of Survivor as well. Maybe even someone like a Mark Wales who won Blood versus Water, you know what I mean? Like he played a very dominating win in Blood versus Water, but while I don't need to see him come back and play again, at least he would be a solid pick where it's like, oh, okay, you get what I mean? I want a second season with more people. Tyson would be one I'd like to see on AU show. He hasn't ever watched it. Yeah, I mean, like there's a I think that this could be a new sort of running series they'll have going on, Hamish. We have a full Australian Survivor season, which is 50 days. But then maybe if they want to do like more of like a Legendsy kind of season, maybe they do another one. Because this season does really well, which I have a strong feeling it's going to.
Yeah.
Like, you could just keep bringing back small casts. And while it would kind of suck, because like, we want to see a bit longer, because my main critique of New Era is that short amount of days, 18 people, 1 million advantages.
Yeah.
And you don't have time to really socially like bond and manipulate people. You get what I mean? It's just too much go, 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 and that's why everyone flips on each other because I don't have any connections to you. But at the same time, I have full faith in this cast that they're still going to play a really good game.
You could also argue that having played before, not just being randoms, having a shorter amount of time to get to know people may not be as much of an issue. So if they do more shorter form series like this in the future, it may be more like just like, again, returning players rather than new players,
Yeah,
not necessarily these returning players, but returning players.
And we could have Peg League from UK, which 100%. I'm kind of sad that we didn't see a lot more UK players on the World Tribe. I will have a video coming out soon for players from around the world. I'm sad didn't get to make it on, and players from Australia. I'm sad to not make it on. And did you hear about Mark and Phoebe? Absolutely. I'm so happy for them. I hope the relationship goes really, really well. And just some last comments here as well. How much research do you think the Americans did on the Australian players? It's actually a much different game. Australia is a better game of the two, 100%. I think that they were given seasons to watch. I know that Parvati was just finished watching David's season right after she went to play Deal or No Deal Island, which is where she played with David. So I do know that there's a tight connection, heading into the show. And I do think the majority of the players would at least done some homework. I doubt it'll be pre-game, but I think it's mostly just checking out who they are.
Here's a thought. You know how when you talk about sports, you say different countries tend to be better at different sports. Like we were talking about rugby earlier today, like, New Zealand being good, Ireland and South Africa and stuff and whatnot. Some countries will be better at football and stuff like that. I wonder if now that we're finally seeing, a tribe of Australians versus, I guess the other tribe's mixed, but if you'll start to see anything like that, like, is Australia does it breed better, better survivor players or something like that? Yeah. That could be interesting. Imagine in the future if there's more of this kind of stuff where they have like, not exactly like world championships, but like something to that effect, you know what I mean? More thing in that way.
Yeah,
that could be kind of cool.
100%. Yeah, and I just want to say mad props to Australian Survivor as well. As I'm going to keep adding to the dog shit of American Survivor, but they have the biggest Survivor franchise, and they never once thought of doing something like this. So mad props to Australia for coming out and wanting to do all of a global championship, something every Survivor fans wanted to see. So I'm so bloody pumped to see what they're going to do. I just found a channel that has the New Zealand and South African shows on, so I'm going to watch those soon. Yeah, 100%. So Lisa is on season 2, Rob is on season 7, but honestly, season 5 through to 9, I believe, for South Africa, it's really bloody phenomenal. Definitely check those out. Survivor New Zealand, I love it because it's it's New Zealand, but it's not Traders New Zealand. You get what I mean?
Traders New Zealand, from a non-biased standpoint, I would argue it's just the best.
Yeah, exactly.
But for Survivor, well,
yeah. I mean, there's a reason why I did get cancelled.
Yeah, and now we have Treasure Island.
Treasure Island, yeah. This season also kicks off Australian Survivor era because it's the 11th one. 100%. I'm so excited where they're going to go through with it. Jeff Probst is just jealous of everyone else because other franchises are better. I 100% agree with you. With that one, which is why he needs to get sacked. Check out my video on why Jeff Probst is sacked. Nah, jokes. That does bring us to the end of our podcast, unfortunately. Hamish, you're a musician.
Yeah, I am a musician. Yeah. Well spotted.
Yeah. Where can people find you?
Where can people find me? On Instagram, Stags Yarrow. I lost a subscriber this morning.
That's how great his music is.
I'm going on tour. If you're in New Zealand, I'll be playing in Gisborne, Hamilton, Auckland, and Wellington. Almost all next month. The Wellington show will be the start of June. But anyway, so come see me on tour. Otherwise, check out my music. Check out Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you are new to the channel, make sure you smash that subscribe button, just like how you smash down a blueberry muffin and a flat white on Anzac Day. Every subscription, every like is a... I kind of lost what I was saying. I'm too far.
You went into the inside jokes, and everyone was just like, "What's happening?" And then you were like, "What's happening?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Even I don't know what's.
But if you would like some exclusive cheeky content with Michael, cheeky naughty content exclusive with Mucky Productions,
exclusive,
Winky Time, then click subscribe. Share it with your friends. Share it with your mum.
And your dad. And your grandparents.
In particular, share it with your mum. Tell her to follow Stags Yarrow and send Stags Yarrow a message.
Exactly.
Is your mum single?
This is why you lost a subscriber. God. No, but if you're new to the channel, smash up the subscribe button, smash that like button. Let us know down in the comments below. Who do you think is going to win Australia versus the world? And who do you think is going to win Mucky Hope Survivor's apartment with Danica's computer, phone, TV, Danica herself, Dolores, Gabe, Chadu, Hamish, myself,
and all of the rest of the tribe,
and all the rest of
who are working with Gabe and me and voting you guys out.
And we're gonna be.
I'm winning. No, Gabe's. I'll give it to Gabe.
Yeah, I reckon Chadu's got it as well.
I think it'll be Gabe and me, and then at the end, people will vote for a Gabe to win because people know him from the comment sections. I'm just on a few of these. Yeah. So I'll take second place.
Second place. Awesome. Awesome. Well, until next time, everyone, I'm your host, Mucky Hope, ka kite anō, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Take it easy, guys. Bye.